Well, good morning everybody and welcome to this morning's AudioCodes webinar. My name is Pete Woodhams. I'm the EMEA Product Manager for Westcon's Microsoft Lync infrastructure portfolio. And I'd like to first of all start off by thanking you all for taking some time out of your day to join us on this morning's webinar around best practices for migrating your PBX infrastructures with Microsoft Lync. I'm pleased to say that we've got Aemon Burke joining us this morning, AudioCodes Senior Pre-Sales Engineer, and also Mark Thompson, Business Development Director for UK and Nordics. This morning we'll be going through a number of topic areas around integrating PBX, existing PBXs with Microsoft Lync, as well as transitioning and replacing end-of-life PBXs, and of course looking at the great opportunity that we see moving forward with Office 365 integration, and also one of the hot topics at the moment around WebRTC. So for now I'm going to hand over to Aemon. Over to you.
Okay, good morning. Hello, good morning everyone. Thank you for joining. My name's Aemon Burke. Some of you I may have met, others possibly not. I'm AudioCodes as a sales engineer covering the UK, Ireland and Nordics. And I'm, as Pete's introduced, I'm here to do to give you a bit of an overview on migration to Lync and also interoperability with the PBX. So we've got a couple of topics. We'll start off with an introduction to AudioCodes. First off, actually, 143. I wonder if anyone can guess what that number might mean. It looks quite bold there on its own, but if you haven't guessed, and it's a bit of a hard thing to guess, it's actually the number of vendors in the Microsoft Lync ecosystem. So that's 143 vendors offering products, applications in that Microsoft Lync ecosystem. Now, at AudioCodes, we that obviously gives you flexibility and the possibility, endless possibilities really. It gives you the flexibility to choose the product suitable for you from a wide portfolio, but with that becomes a bit of complexity. So with that many vendors, if you're purchasing endpoints and gateways and applications from different vendors, it can suddenly become quite difficult to manage and difficult for support because you've got a lot of different partners to deal with. So at AudioCodes, we're trying to reduce that number down to something more manageable. So admittedly, we don't cover things such as load balancers or headsets, but we try and cover the bulk of those core requirements. And in our portfolio, we've got not just gateways and SBCs. That's what we're known for. People often say, oh, AudioCodes, you make gateways and SBCs. Yes, that's true, but we do a lot more than that. We have our own endpoints, our Lync certified IP phones. We have applications for Lync, such as call recording, fax, auto attendant, third-party support for SIP devices. So that means you can retain your legacy handsets, your SIP handsets, and reutilize those in a Lync environment. So yeah, we are much more than just a gateway and SBC vendor. And one thing you can take away from this is the tool bag. What's that got to do with AudioCodes in this webinar? Well, it's just an illustration. It's something easy to remember. AudioCodes, we like to position ourselves as your toolkit, your kit bag for Lync. So we're there to support you in your Lync deployment and migration moving forward. Now we'll move on to the main part of the call then. PBX migration and interoperability. So what are we doing? We're moving from legacy to Lync. A lot of people. There's been a lot of interest in Lync over the years. People have tried it out. They may have Lync at the moment. Maybe it's just Aemon presence. Maybe they're using it internally. But now they've decided, look, we want to try it out as enterprise voice. We want to get rid of that PBX. We've sweated that investment for the last 5-10 years since the last upgrade that we've had. Now we're ready, and now we're looking to move towards Lync. Now, the first thing that comes up is interoperability. So if you look on TechNet, you can see that that Microsoft have certified a number of PBXs to work direct with Lync. So direct SIP certified, I think the phrase is. While that's true, you'll find there's often a lot of limitations there. There's a few little asterisks to the side, and certain features and functionality may not work. It could be SRTP isn't supported. It could be refer messages. So just as a background, Lync, the way calls are transferred, it can be handled differently depending on whether it's Lync or a PBX or service provider. So you can use a refer message, which refers that call to another endpoint, or you can also use a re-invite, which is re-invites the same call to a different endpoint. Now, if one, you've got Lync talking one and your PBX talking the other, then you'll have problems with call transfers. So I guess in a nutshell, really, yes, some PBXs will work with direct to Lync, but they won't work 100% of the time. They'll only work 95, 99% of the time. So in an example, we had a partner in Sweden. They had Lync working directly to an Avaya PBX, and the problem they had was call transfers, or call diverts, I should say. When calls were diverted through to mobiles, they would find they would drop out after a minute. And they did a lot of research, a lot of looking into it. In the end, the solution was to put in an AudioCodes SBC to normalize the SIP, so that one side we're talking Lync, one side we're talking Avaya SIP. Because as much as we'd like SIP to be, like it to be a standard and standard across all the vendors, it's not. Everyone's got a slightly different take on things and uses different options or different methods to really achieve the same thing. So that's why it's important to have a device, an SBC in the middle, capable of talking between those slight differences in language. So starting off with a typical PBX scenario, you've got a PBX with some PSTN trunks. Customer's got Lync. This may be a new deployment, or it may be a pilot that's expanded. We see quite a lot of that where people put it in as a pilot, the IT guys use it, a bit of Aemon presence, it spreads a bit wider, and then the enterprise voice element comes in. Let's get the calls on Lync. So how do we do that? This is the first method of doing that, is to add an AudioCodes gateway or SBC and connect it to Lync. So in this scenario, you've got the PBX. Nothing's been touched on the PBX to PSTN side, because that's people are a bit reluctant to interfere with that. That's sort of a known working solution. It's stable. Businesses are a bit reluctant just to go, okay, let's break that connection and put another third-party device in the middle. So, the logical approach, people using the logic in their mind, they think about it, go, okay, let's just add that to the back of the PBX. Now, problem with that is you may or you may not have to purchase, in this diagram here, an additional E1 interface, an ISDN interface on the PBX. If it was SIP, you may have to buy some more session licenses or channel licenses or something like that. And the question is, do you really want to be investing in a legacy PBX, which quite possibly is going to be replaced or phased out in the future? So the advantage being it's nice and easy, but long term it's not the best method. So and in this model, you can see the routing is really made. The routing decisions, the choices are made by the PBX. So the PBX is deciding on what to do with each call as it comes in from the PSTN. Does it send it to a user or ACD group, or does it send it out towards the median and in towards Lync? Yeah, we've more or less covered these topics. I've talked ahead of myself. So the PBX, the PSTN connection remains on the PBX. The PBX has more configuration. It's got the routing decisions and taking control of that. If there's a problem with the PBX, then Lync is isolated. And more intrusive migration path, maybe not initially. Maybe initially it looks quite easy, but longer term it does become more difficult and more complex. So really the preferred way of migrating across to Lync, and I should also add, it doesn't have to be migrating away. This could be coexistence as well. You do find some people want to keep their PBX. They may have a contact center and they've decided at this stage that they haven't quite seen what they want from Lync or from the applications available out there, and perhaps they've invested very heavily in it and they're quite happy with it. So you see some partners who decide, well, let's just keep the PBX for this specific group of users, for the contact center, for example, and everyone else, we will migrate those people across to Lync, and we'll have the two environments running side by side and coexisting. So we have the Lync environment added, and we have the AudioCodes median gateway or SBC in the middle. And that's what we call the drop and insert model. So what we're doing is we're adding the putting the gateway in as the hub of you know, the I guess what could you say, the telecommunications demarcation point for that organization. So all your trunks are coming in, or your PSTN connections are coming into the median, and from there the median is then making the decisions on where to send those calls. It could send them through to Lync, it can send them to a PBX, you may have another IVR or something, but the AudioCodes median is able to take care of those and handle that call routing. How does it do that? There's three areas really. There's static routing tables, which are entries that will say any number beginning with 1,000 to 2,000, send it to the PBX, 2 to 3, send it to Lync. A bit less, obviously you can break things down a little bit more than that. A bit more granular, but as you start to migrate individual users, that becomes unworkable, and you end up with a long routing table, and quite frankly, it gets a bit messy and a bit of a nuisance. So the better way to handle the routing is with AD lookup. That's using Active Directory. So the median is looking at the AD server to make its routing decisions. We're very flexible in that area. There's lots of approaches, there's lots of fields you can look up. It's fully customizable. But in a nutshell, a call would come in from the PSTN into the median, and then from the median it would go to Active Directory and say, hey, this number, do you see it in the MSRTC SIP, one of those fields? Yes, you do. Okay, send that across to Lync because that person is a Lync user. No, I don't see it. Okay, in that case, send it to the PBX because it'll be a PBX user. And the advantage of that is activating those Lync users. You enable someone for Lync. It's done. It's in AD, and instantly the gateway is making the correct routing decisions in real time. So that's really the advantage of that sort of a migration plan. So yeah, we're querying Active Directory. Based on that, we can make the decisions. It's a smooth migration. It's easy to migrate users across. It's as easy as activating them within Lync. Therefore, the AD flags are triggered. Therefore, the median makes the correct routing decisions, and it's one place to maintain all those routing decisions within AD. Once you're set up, once the median is set up, you've got very little to do, and you wouldn't have a need to log on to it regularly to make changes. It's just there and it's running. On top of that, oh, okay, one more slide. I was expecting a graphic there. Yeah, I think I've actually already covered this. Getting ahead of myself again. Oh, 2 slides extra. All right. Let me just check it, see if I've read through. I think I've already covered these topics here. So, yeah, Lync won't be isolated, or the PBX won't be isolated if one has an issue because they're separate. They still have access through the median. I should also add that you can have then a fallback as well. So if Active Directory, if Lync wasn't available, we can alternative route those calls to the PBX. So if people are worried about Lync or worried about, oh, what happens if Lync doesn't work, I still want to keep my phone, you can say, well, if Lync's not working, it will go across to a phone and it will get answered. So as well as back to this diagram that we saw previously, you can then migrate yourselves across to SIP as well by adding some SIP trunks. The ESBC license, of course, and then adding SIP trunks to the appliance. So that gives you a nice smooth migration over to SIP, and as you can see, that's why it's better to have the appliance in that drop and insert model, using the drop and insert model, as against the upstream deployment, which is connected off the back of the PBX. It ties all the PSTN interfaces come into one demarcation point, and then all the routing is made from there out to the relevant PBXs and Lync. With that, you could have some SIP trunks on there for perhaps cheap outbound calls. You could have both PSTN and SIP trunks on there. You could eventually migrate away from the PSTN and save yourself the cost of the E1 circuits. The choice is up to you and your customer, really. So yeah, we also enable call forking on there as well. So if you want calls to fork in towards Lync and towards your PBX, we're able to do that. Probably one of the biggest disadvantages of that is you're likely to see missed calls on Lync or your PBX, depending on which endpoint you answer. So a lot of people often investigate the possibility of call forking. It sounds good on the surface, but when you look at it a bit closer, it's not really, it doesn't tend to be very widely deployed, we find. In certain circumstances, yes, but a lot of the time people just decide, okay, no, I think we'll just decide to send the calls in towards Lync or the PBX. We won't go with dual forking, but it is an option there as well. Whoever answers the call first, the other forked call will then get a cancel and a bye message, and that part of the call will be cleared down. So it just depends on whoever answers the call first as to which endpoint will take that call, whether that being a Lync endpoint or a PBX user. Okay, so resiliency is another question that comes up. With resiliency on legacy interfaces, unfortunately you're a bit limited there because it's a physical interface. SIP is a lot easier because it's IP, and we have some quite good HA options available on our Median 800 and also the other pure SBC models, the 2600 and 4000 and software SBCs. Now, for E1, your best choice is to split your E1 circuits between two devices, two physical devices, to give you 2 points of failure, I guess. So if one of them has a problem, the other can still take over. As you can see in this diagram, you can either have, this one has E1 between the two of them. It's also possible to have SIP between the two of them. So if the device on the top was unable to reach the PBX or the phone, then the one on the bottom would take the call over SIP and then route it across itself. So that's really the E1 HA option. As I said, for SIP it's a lot easier. We have a two-box HA solution, so that's an active-passive configuration. It's not a pool, that's important to remember, or a cluster. It's a hot standby, and that is by using two appliances. There's no license or anything needed for this. All you need are the two appliances, and between the two they have a heartbeat. They're sharing the configuration, and in the event of one of them failing or losing contact to a SIP registrar or proxy, it's able to then hot swap over to the other device. In that case, it swaps over, and you can even maintain calls as well, so no lost calls, no dropped calls in that scenario. Just back to the other routing decisions, I didn't talk too much about enum. We covered LDAP already and static routing tables. Enum is also a possibility. It tends to be used by, I guess, universities and some of those sort of campus-type environments where there's different domains and different networks, but you want to be able to route those calls, make those routing decisions centrally. So in that case, it's very similar to LDAP. You will need to provide your own enum server, but there's numerous out there. There's some of them free as well, open source ones as well that work perfectly fine. And the mediant then queries the enum server, where is this user, and then it gets told, hey, the user is over here on PBX1, and then the mediant routes the call across. So yeah, so routing design examples. In this case, hold on, that was just some more description on enum, which we've covered. Okay, sorry, analog devices. That's another area, another important thing to consider in a migration is analog devices. You may or may not be aware that that Lync doesn't natively support analog devices. So that means no fax or analog phone support. Unfortunately, you can't certify a device, an analog device, into a Lync environment either. We do have media packs which we use to fill this need, or indeed modules within the Mediant 1000 and 800 also support FXS as well. So I guess the reason for this diagram, the key thing to take away is that the analog ports need to connect via an enhanced gateway. They can't connect directly in towards the mediation server and link pool. That's important, I guess, for branch sites. So if you had a media pack ATA, one of our media pack devices, on a branch site, you just need to remember that the connection, that the media and the signaling will always be back to the enhanced gateway. So if there's calls happening locally, you can see there's two of them there. There's a fax and a phone. Okay, they're not going to call each other, but if they did, the media and signaling would all go via the enhanced gateway and then back to that site. So it's just something to bear in mind with analog devices. If you're all on one site, then you've got no problems. You've got no problems there because it's a local device, and the gateway and link pools are local as well. So that's how you cover analog in the Lync environment. Now I'll move on a bit to the portfolio. So these are our mediant mediant-based SBCs and gateways. This is pure SBCs, I should add, starting with the Mediant 500, which, if I'm honest, I should have removed that. You can enable it for Lync, but by default it does not have a Lync license, so you don't want to use that order that for a Lync environment. So what we're looking at here are the 2600, the 4000, and the 9000. Those products are licensed for Lync. Capacities to meet your needs up to 600 sessions, 500, or even 5,000 or 16,000 sessions on the 9,000. The 2600, if you haven't looked into that before, it's a relatively new product. It's been around, I guess, around a year, I'd say, at this point. And it is a very good price point. So don't be scared off by the number of sessions it supports, thinking, wow, that's going to be expensive. It isn't. It isn't by any means. Next is the hybrid portfolio. So if you need to support SIP and E1, then these are the products you're looking towards. The Median 800, the entry-level product, it's fixed configuration. It has recently been upgraded, and now we sell the B model. However, there may be some of the 800 still floating about there. The B model supporting up to 180 sessions in Lync. So just important to remember, you've got SRTP and TLS there, which does reduce the capacity from 250 down to 180 sessions. Then you have the Mediant 1000B and the Mediant 3000, which is the 3000 is quite a hefty beast. It supports up to 63 E1s, and it has full HA as well, no single point of failure in there. So it's really a carrier grade piece of equipment. Then the last in the group, the newest editions, are the virtual and software editions. So these are software based, so they run on CentOS, if I recall. Yes, CentOS Linux, and we run the application on top of that. The three variants you see here, there's the median virtual edition. There's two capacities there, depending on if you're how many cores and memory you've got. Then you've got the software editions, which go on dedicated servers, which you supply. All right, getting towards the end now. Well, that's the end of interoperability and migration. Now on to Office 365. A brief few things on that. So with 365, there's been we've focused a lot of attention into this area recently. If you're not fully aware of the story, if you are, I apologise, but a lot of people, a lot of businesses are going to Office 365. They may have the E3 CAL, which is the enterprise license. Sorry, the E3, yes, E3, which is the enterprise bundle, including Lync. So that includes all your Office Exchange, all that in the cloud, and Lync as well. It is also possible to add enterprise voice to that. What's needed for that? Okay, you need to upgrade to an E4 CAL, so from the E3 to the E4, very small charge. It's £1.50 a month. That gives you the right to use enterprise voice. Once you have that right, then you need to have an on-prem Lync server and gateway SBC connecting to the PSTN, and then you're able to enable those Office 365 users for enterprise voice. So as I've said, we've been paying this particular area of the market a lot of attention. Microsoft have recognised that as well. Yeah, I would watch out for announcements from AudioCodes in the coming weeks or months in this area. Now down to the last one, WebRTC. So what is WebRTC? It's WebRTC is really a standards or a framework for real-time communications. The key feature, or the real big interest in it, is it's browser to browser without plugin, or browser to appliance. But the idea is you can communicate directly, natively to someone using a browser. That for voice, for video, and I've even heard of some other useful tools such as file transfer and other types of technologies and things using WebRTC as the framework for that. So what are AudioCodes doing in this space? Well, we've been heavily involved in WebRTC since its creation, really, or for a number of years. We have Opus, our phones which support the Opus codec, which is the codec for the audio codec for WebRTC. So why is that important? The importance is that we can support, as in this diagram here, a call between the browser directly into the phone without the need for any transcoding. The only thing that's happening here is the median is being used to terminate the SIP over WebSocket, which is the way WebRTC works. So it's terminating a WebRTC call from the browser into the median, and then the median is translating that towards SIP. As for the media, it's passing through transparently, and there's nothing happening there. So what we're really doing is we're going to WebRTC enable our median range. Obviously, this is still in development at the moment. We do have working prototypes. I've seen one working, but it's still on the roadmap at present. Next slide. Obviously, people don't tend to connect phones direct to the median. That tends to have a PBX or Lync or something else there. So in this case, it's just terminating the calls towards an IP PBX. But the same thing is happening. We will terminate the WebRTC and translate it to SIP if required. So what we're really doing is we're adding WebRTC as another standard, another protocol that we support on our SBC. So you'll be able to terminate E1, SIP, WebRTC all onto the same appliance. That's really the message we've got there. Okay, well, wow, actually I just checked the time and I seem to have flown through a little bit quickly there, but that's really it in a nutshell. There is a lot more to discuss and a lot more to cover. There's applications and other things. I guess the focus for today was really the migration for enterprise voice, but definitely we do have webinars around these other areas, maybe around SIP phone support, call recording, other applications. Survivability for branches. So just keep an eye out for future webinars as they come up, and they'll cover specific areas. I think now we're over to I don't know if Mark or Peter are available, and we might have some Q&A now. Is that correct, guys?
That's great. Thanks, Aemon. Mark Thompson here from AudioCodes. So thanks for taking us through that, Aemon. That's really great. I just wanted to say a couple of things and just point out a couple of key points as we went through the presentation. If anybody's got any questions, please do use the questions bar. We've got a couple come up, and I'll pick up on those in a second. Now, Aemon described the 143, and I think you can see at the end of the presentation there the full portfolio, AudioCodes One Voice for Lync. One of the key areas there that just is a key takeaway from this is that we've got all of the individual elements that kind of take down the complexity of you having to do your own integration and operational relationships with many vendors to create an ecosystem around Lync. I think just coming to AudioCode, we could take the 143 down to 1 or 2, to be honest, and then we hope you'll stay with us, but it's obviously a very open environment, and you can choose, but I think we've proven in the past that integrating gateways, integrating session border control, integrating phones, integrating call recording and campus deck solutions, and all of these little things that you need to do that PBX supports does require some form of systems integration. So I think we can save significant operational costs within that regard. So just bear that in mind, and if all you remember coming away from this is the number 143 and AudioCodes, that's kind of great as well. Looking at the drop and insert configuration, I think one of the key areas there, I'm from a PBX background. I've sold PBXs for many years, and I kind of know that as a PBX vendor, I want my customers to upgrade, right? And if I want to add functionality typically to a PBX, I'm going to force an upgrade to the latest edition, which can be many thousands of euro. And that could be just to get SIP trunking, and then my business case at a customer angle, just to get SIP trunking, to pay 10,000 euros to upgrade a PBX really doesn't work. A 1,000 euro gateway, that kind of works for me. So have a think about that as well, and obviously putting that gateway in situ, even as a first stage to get the customer onto SIP trunking, then gives you a natural evolution to Lync, because that gateway and session border control will absolutely be 100% certified with Lync. So you're already kind of there to start that customer on their journey, and that can be a slow migration, a fast migration, or in a lot of cases people tend to retain the PBX from an application perspective. Maybe they've got a large call center running, they want to keep that, but they want to move the back office into Lync. We can enable that as well. And then finally, the E4. Aemon talked about E4. I think if you look at Microsoft new financial year starts in about a month's time. There's going to be a lot of focus on the cloud. I mean, Microsoft's strategy is cloud first, device first. That's it. That's what they're talking about at the moment. And certainly there's going to be a huge focus on what I would call the golden object of this year, which is E4. And E4 enables that enterprise voice right-to-use license, as you heard Aemon talk about before. Not only does it do that, but it also does it at an extremely cost-effective level. I mean, today you'd spend about 100 euros on what they would call enterprise voice plus cal. which is fine, and that's a big part of the business, and it's quite important for an enterprise voice deployment today. If you have customers that have Office 365, the absolute question to ask them is, what E are you on? E1, E2, or E3? If that customer is on E3, then they've got Lync Online and conferencing probably, but they don't have the enterprise voice suite. And it's just a different question to ask, really. And if they do have the E3, they may well have a right to use on the E4 licensing already, but just not deployed them. There's many millions of non-deployed E4 licenses sitting in the world right now as part of their enterprise agreement. So certainly, if I was talking, about an opportunity, I would say that E4 is absolutely key. And I think, as Aemon mentioned, we will have, from an AudioCodes perspective, some capabilities around E4 that we'll be announcing in the coming weeks. So watch out for that. Watch out for launch announcements for that particular solution. So, as I said before, if there are any questions, please do put them into the questions window. And with that, I'm going to hand over to Pete Williams from Westcon. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark, and thanks, Aemon. That was great, and hopefully for you guys attending, that you've been able to see the flexibility of the AudioCodes portfolio and how taking that customer on the journey from a traditional PBX environment and moving them to a Microsoft Lync solution through integration and migration is vastly simplified through an approach where you're dropping and inserting gateways and so on and so forth. From a Westcon perspective, I'd like to thank you all this morning for taking some time out of your day. We have a very extensive Microsoft Lync ecosystem portfolio in our product set, so AudioCodes being a strategic part of that solution. And as some of you may already know, we also carry a range of headsets, so people like Jabra and Plantronics and Sennheiser, as well as people like Polycom from a video perspective, Lync infrastructure appliances, and applications that support Lync in a significant approach when it comes to call centers and call recording. So we have what we feel is a very extensive wrapper around Microsoft Lync, and so we feel that we can take partners on traditional key systems perhaps for very small user accounts, for partners on larger enterprise platforms, and partners that are in the cloud. We can certainly help them integrate and onboard with Microsoft if that's a strategic decision that their partners have made, or your partners have made from an end user perspective. And it's a very complex area. Microsoft Lync isn't a simple, let's press a couple of buttons, click next, and we're all good to go. It's quite complex, and so anything that can be done to simplify the approach to delivering Microsoft Lync, whether it's integration with existing PBXs or even a new greenfield site deployment, is a real plus benefit to you guys as our customers, as the resellers, but also to your customers and the end users, because they want to feel that they're engaging in a solution that isn't going to introduce risk into their solution, into their environment, and is going to simplify the approach from a management and administration perspective. So again, thank you all for attending. Mark, just wrapping up, I don't know if there are any questions that have come through on the Q&A at all?
There's very few actually, so that must have been very well technically explained by Mr. Aemon Burke, which is great. A couple of others coming through now. So first question, I guess for you, Aemon, is which ATA adapters can we use to connect FXS ports?
Okay, so as I explained and showed on the slide there, it needs to connect via an enhanced gateway. So as much as I would like to say you have to use an AudioCodes Media Pack ATA, you could use any SIP-enabled ATA. So the communications between the ATA device and the enhanced gateway will be SIP, which means you can, with the Media Pack, I didn't talk too much about them, but we have, they're our FXS and FXO analog device range. They range from 2 ports up to 24 ports with 4, 6, 8, 16 in the middle. And you just buy the size that suits your needs. You would then have SIP between that ATA and the enhanced gateway, and then in towards Lync that way. So officially, we would support any ATA into the enhanced gateway. but with the median preferred, of course. Do we have any others, Mark?
Yeah.
I hope that answered the question. If not, then please raise your hand or drop another message there. Yeah.
No, that's great. Thanks, Aemon. The other one's just on the handsets, actually. Certification of the handsets and kind of integration into the Lync client for kind of click-to-call applications. Perhaps you could explain that a little bit.
Okay, so click to call. So what you're looking for is being able to click to dial from your Lync user interface and make a call through your handset. Interesting you raised that one. We actually have a Better Together application that we've developed, and what that does is it effectively simulates it's like one of the optimized handsets, so the Astras or the Polycoms with the optimized phones with the Lync Phone Edition firmware on them. So it gives you the same sort of experience. Our Better Together application is like the USB Better Together, but we've deployed it over Ethernet. What that means is the phone is then tethered to your PC, and then when you make and receive calls from Lync on your PC, you can choose to use the AudioCodes phone as an audio device, much the same way as you can choose the audio devices within Lync. You might have a headset, you might have speakers, you would have another option there for an AudioCodes phone. So that gives you the full click-to-dial capability natively from the Lync client. All that's needed for that is well, I should mention it's still in beta at the moment. It should be released within the next few weeks, actually. And you would need the firmware, so the Better Together firmware version, plus also a small application that runs on the client. The phone then generates a small unique code, and then oops, what's happening here? Sorry, my screen has. All right. Yeah, so sorry about that. Better Together, and then the application on the PC, which then handles the virtual USB emulation across to the phone. So yeah, I hope that's answered the question.
I think so. That well covered, Aemon. Thank you very much. There's just one more on our call recording. What's our call recording portfolio called? And you know, how does it work in terms of record? What can it record in a Lync and a PBX environment?
Right. Okay. Our call recording product is called SmartTap. We've been in the call recording industry for quite a long time, actually. We developed the blades, so for call recording, so for capturing digital, so for trunk side call recording, and then a number of years ago we decided, hey, let's build the application that goes on top of that, and then we've seen the gradual migration across to SIP as well. So SmartTap, it's a very flexible call recording solution. It allows you to record Lync users, but best of all, it allows you to record any other PBX, third-party PBX as well, be it by SIP or by using our blades to record digital trunk on trunk side and things like that. So the beauty of it is you can, with the call recording solution, you could have it recording Lync and a PBX at the same time, more than one platform at one point in time. How it works, on a lot of PBXs it varies, so I'd have to be specific about the PBX. Quite often it's a mirror port, a network mirror port to capture that traffic, and a plug-in on one of the call control servers. With Lync, it's the same sort of way. There's a plug-in that's on the Lync front-end server, and generally we capture from the edge server. So the plug-in on the front-end server is aware of all the calls. If it sees a call, whether it's by user or number that it wants to record or target, then it directs the media via the edge server and then takes a copy of it, which it stores and records. You can capture it a number of ways, but the edge server is the best because it allows you to capture calls for external users, federated users, PSTN, conferencing, everything. So, but there's a number of choices there that just depend on your needs and how you want to design the solution. So, yeah, very flexible. Okay, hope that answered the question. Yeah.
That's great. Thanks, Aemon. Good stuff. So just a couple
do
of.
You have any more there, Mark? Or?
No, so just in terms of a couple of housekeeping things, we will provide a copy. This is all being recorded, so we'll send out the full recording to everybody. Peter do that from Westcon. And I think we can also, with that information, is load the slides up that Aemon presented as well, so that you can capture those and download the PowerPoints in terms of the slides. So that's good stuff. So I think we're finished with the questions now. Obviously, if there's any other questions anyone has, then please do let us know after the session. Aemon's details are up there, his email address, aemon.burke@audiocodes.com. And with that, and on behalf of Westcon, AudioCodes and myself, I'd like to thank everybody for attending this morning. And do watch out for further announcements in the next couple of weeks from AudioCodes, some exciting new products coming out, solutions. And of course, we'll be doing another part of the webinar as well, moving around the One Voice for Lync graphic that you can see on your screen now, and taking up some subjects. And we'll probably look to do something perhaps a little bit more detailed around E4 and how all of that works in terms of being able to integrate with Lync Online, Exchange Online, which we can do, by the way, already, and also how that then can integrate your existing customer infrastructure, be it either a Lync on-prem or actually linking the PBX into the Lync on-prem and then into the Office 365 environment. So exciting stuff, I think, coming forward. So thank you very much, and I thank you for your time, and have a great day. Thank you.